On this episode of Political Weathervane Weekly, September 21st, 2024, the Israeli government rigs pagers, radios to explode all across Lebanon, heating up the ongoing war with Hezbollah. We'll talk about it. A self-described true blue Democrat in a true blue state says the Democratic Party has left her behind. She has now moved her support to Donald Trump. We will hear her story. Early voting is starting across America, but what do the polls say about the presidential election? All on this episode of Political Weathervane.
Trade your freedom for a false sense of right. Together we're stronger, we won't be denied. This is freedom's last stand, let's turn the tide. Let's turn the tide.
This is Political Weathervane. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ben.
The first story that we're going to talk about tonight is Israel rigging thousands of pagers to explode on Hezbollah fighters. As all of you probably know, Israel has been fighting actually against Iran in a two-front war now. They started it on October 7th with Hamas attacking Israel, and then Hezbollah has been getting involved with the fighting as well. Well, they're saying now that Israel might have, even though Israel has not completely said that, yes, it was us, they haven't confirmed that, people in our government has said that Israel privately has told the United States government that, yeah, it was us. And it was quite a feat to be able to do that, because getting that many pagers to explode at once is kind of spectacular. But they're also saying...
Oh, go on.
They were also saying that it might have violated international law. And an article that I found from NPR said that one particular focus is Article 7 of the amended Protocol 2 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, which was added to international law focused on the use of conventional weapons in 1996. They say both Israel and Lebanon have agreed to it. It prohibits the use of booby traps, which Lama fucking Middle East and North African Director of Human Rights Watch defines it as objects that civilians are likely to be attracted to or are associated with normal civilian daily use. In a statement, she said that the use of an explosive device whose exact location could not be readily known would be unlawful and indiscriminate, using a means of attack that could not be directed at a specific military target, and as a result would strike military targets and civilians without distinction.
They said that they used 1 to 2 ounces of explosives and a remote trigger switch that set off a blast that caused all the pagers to explode. They said that it's killed at least 37 people and wounded 2,931. That's according to the Lebanese health minister.
And I'm torn on this because I understand Israel's thinking is that they're going for survival. But was this the best measure to do with this? Because they are going after actual fighters, but the problem is it's civilians too.
Yeah, this affected more.
So it's kind of a... Did Israel go too far? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I never really expected this.
No, I really didn't either.
Like that. One of the other thoughts that I have besides Israel is, what's the effects? Is anything going to happen to Taiwan because they help produce these?
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Is this going to be like, okay, now we're going to help be more on board with China now, trying to go after Taiwan or these other countries?
I doubt it. I really
don't
hope
know.
not.
It's just...
I really hope not. Well, but Israel is in a war, and it's not right to go after civilians. But at the same time, you got to stop Hezbollah because they're going, it's 2 versus 1 right now.
Yeah, we also just learned that the top Hezbollah commander was killed by an Israeli strike in Beirut after this occurred. This occurred approximately 3 days ago.
Was
And-
pagers, and then 2 days ago, I believe it was the walkie-talkies.
Okay. And,
there was walkie-talkies that exploded as well.
All right. So Hezbollah confirmed that Ibrahim Khalil's death was caused by Israel after several strikes in Beirut. So, I mean, they are going after Hezbollah right now.
I do want to say something on behalf of Israel, though. Is this could be all over right now if Hezbollah, or at least Hamas, would give up all the hostages. I think Israel would back off, and it would end.
I think that this has made it a lot harder for them to negotiate, though. I heard that recently. Biden actually did on Friday his first, first meeting with his cabinet in 11 months.
Uh-huh.
Did you see how, this is kind of getting off track a little bit, but did you see how he didn't even run it? It was, he started the opening talk, and then he goes, I'm going to turn this over to Joe. And Joe was at the president's seat, and he was in the middle.
That's weird.
You can go back and watch it.
I did not hear that
You
part.
did not hear that part, that he didn't actually
That's
even
weird.
run it? Yeah, he just sat there. But, okay, going back to this a little bit, I think Israel is trying to do what they can right now, and then hopefully, I think they're hoping that in November that Trump can help them a little more after the election. Like, they know that they're going to have somebody's back, but they're hitting the gas right now.
And part of the problem, too, is there's so much information on social media, you don't know what is true and what's not.
Yeah,
when
that's
it comes
very
to
true.
Israel. And we always have to remember that Iran is the one that's behind Hezbollah and Hamas, the funding.
Yeah.
And when Trump was president, they didn't have enough funding to do this. And I agree with Trump that this would have never happened if he would have won re-election, if he was in office.
Mm-hmm. All right, my question to you is this: do you think this situation will escalate or de-escalate in the coming weeks?
It's going to escalate.
You think it's going to get worse than this? All right,
Hezbollah is probably going to attack Israel in some way.
Yeah, or do you think Hamas is kind of on the side right now. They're kind of probably waiting for another ceasefire so that way they can load up again and attack. So we'll have to see how this goes. All right, that should cover the segment, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Political Weathervane. So Gloria Romero, in 2012, she was a diehard Obama supporter, and she was even a delegate for the DNC convention. And now she has decided to leave the Democratic Party. She has gone through this over a period of time, and she's felt the need to make a statement. She used to, besides just being a delegate, she used to work in the California state legislature. She even worked her way up to being the majority leader for the state senate. There's a number of Democrats that have kind of seen that the party's changed a lot, and she believes that her beliefs haven't changed, but the party has gone radical. So we're going to hear her clip now.
Annual recovery convention, and I think to some extent it kind of expresses what I feel today, my pathway to recovery. So I salute them for being here. I had a chance to talk with some of them. But I am former Senator Gloria Romero, and today I am announcing that I am leaving the Democratic Party. I was a Democratic convention delegate for the Reverend Jesse Jackson way back then, and President Barack Obama at 3 different conventions between the two. I was the California co-chair for then Senator President Obama in California. In my household, FDR, JFK, RFK. These were heroes in my household. And I vividly remember where I was, when it happened, when the Kennedys were assassinated. Dreams were dashed. The quest for hope, however, never extinguished. In this Capitol behind me, I served as both Senate Democratic Caucus Chair and the Senate Majority Leader. But today I say goodbye. Adios. I've had enough. I am now another near lifelong Democrat who is joining the growing number of people, including key groups like Latinos, who are leaving the Democratic Party. This is not the Democratic Party that I once championed, I do not recognize it anymore, and I cannot continue. I changed my voting registration today as the sun was rising to Republican, which has, under Donald Trump, become the champion of working people, the big tent. And indeed, I will vote for Donald Trump this fall. While there are several issues that I could highlight for this action, let me just list some that are most prominent. The so-called Party of Democracy eradicated 14 million votes, including mine, in order to install its preferred candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris. But even before that, the Democratic primaries were so rigged so as to prevent viable candidates like RFK Jr. from jumping into even campaign. Lawfare was utilized. At the end, similar to Latin American dictatorships, the dedazo was used to tap who the political elite and the big donors wanted to run. A political coup, in my opinion, was essentially executed. I have run, as have others here with me today, I have run for office in the past. And what message does this send? That if the donors and the elites don't like you, they can simply replace you with the candidate of their choice at any moment, for any reason, undermining any semblance of democracy and the voters' will. I cannot take that. Indeed, I believe the Democratic Party has taken a giant leap to authoritarianism and censorship. It was President Reagan who warned that if fascism comes to America, it will come as liberalism. And as a former member of the executive board of the Southern California ACLU, individual freedoms are trapped, silenced by authoritarianism and censorship. That is not me. It is terrifying to see how language has been modified so that as a feminist and a former professor at California State University, I today would be condemned for saying that I can define a woman and distinguish between biological sex and gender identity. This is the so-called Party of Women, which has eradicated. Got it? Great job. This is the so-called Party of Women, which has eradicated Title IX protections for sports equity for women. While I am pro-choice, I will not support a party that advocates for abortion to full term. Also, I am a mother, and as a Latina, I refuse to call myself a birthing person. The Democratic Party has become the party of censorship, authoritarianism, and locking people up for free speech. The Democratic Party has abandoned our veterans at home to send millions and millions overseas. Today, the Republican Party has become the party of peace, while the Democrats have marched towards endless war. Today's Democratic Party and Vice President Harris specifically have refused to speak the names of the 13 American soldiers whose lives were sacrificed for a photo op in the horrific botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. Anyone who has ever buried a young soldier in war can feel the pain of that. And I say Clarence Griego from my hometown. I went to his funeral in Vietnam. The Democratic Party has turned its back on the working class, becoming the party of the elites and big buck donors. We see daily Democratic leaders lecture the people as to how to live their lives under the burden of COVID-19, climate change, and rampant inflation, while they, out of touch with Californians, feast at the French Laundry. Crime has spiraled out of control. Grocery prices have soared. Some 39% of Americans say they've skipped meals to make housing payments. As a Latina, a Mexican American, I know my history. My family was here before the border crossed us in 1848. I have long embraced pathways to citizenship, but I reject what has become a mockery of citizenship and the throwing open of our southern border by the ineffective border czar and the inept sleeping on the beach Biden. People around the world flock to America, and we should insist what citizenship means. But perhaps my biggest disconnect with my old party now has been over school choice, education freedom, and the right to have quality schools for all. Especially as Congressman Kevin Kiley and I have fought together, especially for school choice for poor and minority children who are trapped in chronically failing schools. They remain trapped even while the most powerful.
Wow, lot to unpack there.
I didn't know that she turned. I heard that she moved and left the Democrat Party because I saw some interviews, but I didn't know she became a Republican.
See, I heard that she said that she'll be supporting Donald Trump, but I wasn't 100% that she went all in with the Republicans. Initially, I heard that she knew that she was going to join was going to cross over to the other side and not support Kamala Harris, but she knew for certain that she had to speak out about it after she heard RFK speak.
I see.
I can't really relate to her as much as saying that because I wasn't a Democrat back then, but I do remember 2012, and I do remember Democrats in 2012. I remember being able to hear their position, and they would state their position. They go, we believe this, but we still love our country. This is where we want to be. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And then we'd have a difference of opinion and so on and so forth, and that would be it. But today, that's not even the case.
No, we're so far apart with most cases that can't even come together.
Like, they can't even stand with the Constitution anymore. That's the problem. Or support things in the Bill of Rights. And it's interesting. The most interesting thing to me to see the difference over the years is how the Republican Party has become more anti-war, and the Democratic Party is very pro-war now.
Yeah. And we can even see that in the short time that we've been following politics.
Yeah.
Because we just started about 20 years ago, really paying attention. So we've seen the difference in about 20 years.
It's amazing how some people haven't even noticed. They've been just driving right along with the Democrats and everything, and see how their positions have changed and how all these things have happened and everything, and they still stand with the Democrats. And they talk about woke. They're asleep. They're asleep, and they don't even know it. All right, I think that clears it up. I'm really glad I got to listen to that and got to hear what she had to say. She did a very good job speaking there. All right, I think we're going to go to our final segment now. Polls.
We are back on Political Weathervane. When we did the show 12 years ago, this was always my favorite segment, and I am so excited to bring it back because you never knew where we would go because it was completely impromptu.
All right, we could start with this then. How many battleground states do you think there are?
I believe there's 8 battleground states. Let me count them, all right? Let's go through them. Nevada.
Okay.
Michigan. Wisconsin. Pennsylvania. Georgia. North Carolina. I guess there's 6. I guess Minnesota. You could count Minnesota. I believe those are the 7.
You counted Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
And Arizona?
Oh, I didn't say Arizona.
Okay. In my opinion, there's pretty much 7.
Okay.
I'd say there's 7 and maybe Nebraska.
You want to start on a state that... All right, the first thing I want to do is a state that Trump's not likely to win, but it might be closer than in past elections because there's going to be some people who aren't going to vote. What about Michigan?
Michigan, all these states are actually really close. From what the information polling I've been getting through, I've been using the formula from the Emerson polling this year. Emerson has it within actually 3 points. Has Trump trailing by 3 points. It's about 49 to 46.
That was my next question, was does any candidate have 50%?
No.
Because it's always the 50%. All right, so anything else to add to Michigan?
There's a Senate race that between Mike Rogers and he's running against the incumbent right now. She's not a very strong candidate.
Stabenow, right?
No, Stabenow. No, actually, Stabenow's not running anymore. It's actually somebody to replace Stabenow.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, it's I just remembered her name. It's Slotkin.
Okay. And is the race even close between Rogers and Slotkin?
Everything I've been reading, he's down about 5 points.
All right, let's go to the next state. The border right next door, Wisconsin. Does Trump have a chance to win Wisconsin? Because I've heard that the polls have tightened for Trump in Wisconsin.
The polls have tightened in Wisconsin. Many places, many times people were saying that he's trailing in Wisconsin. It's statistical tie right now. 47-47. Anybody's ball game. My opinion, I think right now Donald Trump is going to win Wisconsin just because of the fact if people, do you remember the quiet, I think it was called the quiet voters. The people who were saying that, well, yeah, they might vote for Hillary or whatever, but they turned around and voted for Trump and everything. It seems like that state, people are not going to admit that they voted for Donald Trump, but do plan on voting for Trump. And it's probably going to come down to 10,000 votes.
All right, so you want to move on to the next state?
Okay, we could just finish out the Midwest then. Pennsylvania.
I was going to say the most important state probably out there. The winner of this state will probably win the presidency. How is Trump doing in Pennsylvania?
Trump, that's actually the state he is doing. Well, I mean, he's about as far back as he is in Michigan.
Because Pennsylvania, looking at the Electoral College, he kind
of
Pennsylvania.
It's like 48-45 right now.
There's no Senate race, right, in Pennsylvania?
Bob Casey is running.
It's against, what's his name? He ran against Dr. Oz.
Yeah, he's running again. McCormick.
Okay, so what are the polls between those two?
Trump is actually doing much better overall in that one, the split. I think he's down about 6 points.
Wow, that's really surprising.
Yeah.
Remember when all the pundits said that if Republicans only chose McCormick, he would have won that Senate race in 2020. Was that 2020 or no, 2022?
Yeah, 2022. But he's not running against. He wouldn't have ran against Bob Casey.
No, he was running against
Fetterman.
That's it. But anyway, you want to move to South Carolina?
Not South Carolina.
I mean North Carolina. North Carolina.
I don't know. I haven't packed yet if we're going to move.
Okay, I mean like talking about North Carolina.
Okay, we can talk North Carolina.
How is Trump doing in North Carolina?
This one's really kind of been a shock. Usually a very close state. Right now, the polls are suggesting that he's losing by 1 point.
Quick question. Didn't he win it in 2016, but lose it in 2020? Or did he win it?
He won it both times.
Okay. So, have you heard about the Republican nominee for governor, Mark Robinson? They're making a big deal.
I've heard a little bit about it.
They're making a big deal about some racist comment he made in a chat room years ago. But I have not seen enough proof to show that it was him or not. And the media is going all over about it. And I wonder if it's going to cost Trump in North Carolina.
I don't think so as much, being that Trump's on the top of the ticket.
I hope not.
I don't think that's going to sway as much. But Trump, it's so close in North Carolina right now. But we can move on to Georgia now.
All right.
Trump's doing a lot better this year in Georgia. He's almost at 50%.
Okay.
He has about a 4-point lead on Kamala. He's at 49% and she's at 45%.
And Georgia, the voting commission implemented a new rule today saying that has to match between the votes that go into the machine when you vote and the actual ballots.
Yeah, they're going to actually have a paper count at the precincts.
And you said Indiana has a similar law or rule to that.
Yeah, a lot of states actually do that.
Do you want to move on to the next state or anything else?
We kind of see where we're at right now, though. I mean, if we went by what the polls said right now, I think it would say that Trump is winning Wisconsin. He's losing Michigan, losing Pennsylvania, and losing North Carolina, but winning Georgia.
So could he win the presidency without Pennsylvania?
Well, we got to finish the other states, too.
Finish.
We got 2 more states.
All right, Arizona.
Another one, Trump lost in 2020.
I predicted it.
But I think the issues with the border and I think that those people who were the McCain Republicans, they seem like they're going to hold their nose this time and vote for Trump.
And Carrie Lake has no chance in Arizona, right?
It doesn't look good for her.
Okay.
All right. And
let's talk about Nevada.
Nevada. Now, this is another state that's really close to the border. All polls say that Trump is leading there, and I mean, he's about at 50%. I could say, 50% to about 48%. So, I mean, he's in there. He's pretty much, I think that he's going to get Nevada this time. He's going to get Arizona.
So, with the Electoral College votes, you have to have 270 to win the presidency.
Yeah.
Can he win if he loses Pennsylvania but wins Wisconsin? Is there enough votes? What would he become? Do you know what number he'd get? If let's just say he won Wisconsin but loses Pennsylvania.
Well, Pennsylvania he wouldn't need to look at. He would need to look at losing North Carolina, because you see, if he has North Carolina and he didn't have Wisconsin, that gives him either 269 or 268.
So he could win.
So, well, no, that's just if he won North Carolina. But let's say he lost it. That's -6 that he lost, because North Carolina is 16. Wisconsin's only 10.
I see.
So actually, he would be losing still in the electoral votes. All right, so that would give Kamala 275 and Trump 263. Wow. So the state that might actually determine it all might be North Carolina. I mean, but if he does end up winning Pennsylvania, it'd be a wash then. You know what I mean?
I don't understand people in Pennsylvania vote for Kamala when she wants to ban fracking. I don't understand it. That's huge in Pennsylvania.
He's just looking for 6 more electoral.
But anyway, one more Senate race. Montana, Tester is probably cooked, right? We're probably going to have a Republican in.
Yeah, more than likely a Republican is definitely going to win that seat.
So they'll have 51, probably.
Unless they lose somewhere. Like, I know it's getting close in Texas. It's close in Florida. But we know that West Virginia is going to go Republican.
I know Ted Cruz is annoying. He's not my favorite person. But if I really hope Texas elects him.
So if you were in Texas, you'd hold your nose and vote for Ted Cruz?
I suppose.
You'd vote for all red? Gloria's favorite son?
I would not vote for a Democrat. I'd either vote for Ted, which probably would, or I'd leave it blank. But I probably would vote for Ted for the sake of our country.
So do you plan on voting for Todd Radica now that the polls seem to be getting closer?
I don't know. I will make my decision in the ballot box.
Okay. Will you let Political Weathervane know of your decision?
Probably not.
All right. I guess we'll leave it at that. That's your right. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Take care. Follow us on Facebook. We have the Facebook news page, and then we're available on YouTube. And don't forget to like us. Have a good day.
I don't like that ending. Can we edit?
They want to control us, make us comply, but we'll break the chains, we'll defy and fly. Kamala's vision may loom overhead, but in the land of the brave, we won't live in dread. Our spirits unbroken, we'll stand hand in hand. Together we fight, this is freedom's last stand. So raise your voice, let the world hear our fight. Don't trade your freedom for a false sense of right. Together we're stronger, we won't be denied. This is freedom's last stand. Let's turn the tide.